Friends, it's Marquise Martin Hayes, and it's time for the Monday Moment. Listen, I want to touch base with you today to find out and help you determine whether or not it's time for you to get a tune-up. Why does a tune-up matter? Because here's the thing. Any car you own can run without a tune-up. It might be a little less efficient on the gas mileage. It might make loud noises. Ultimately, it'll get you from point A to B. And because it'll get you from point A to B, if you're not careful, you'll take a car that needs a tune-up in and out of the suburbs, back into the city, all around town. You'll keep driving thinking, oh, one day I'll get that repaired. One day I'll get that resolved. But just like any instrument, when it's out of tune, it's nothing but chaos to all of us out there listening to you. So get your tune-up. What do you mean by that, Marquise? Well, think about it. We all know cars when we're driving on the road that need a tune-up. Or do we? Oftentimes, most of the cars that need tune-ups we actually don't even hear. But the owner's getting less gas mileage. They're showing up from point A to point B, barely making it. Intermittent stops, excessive gas, excessive combustion. But we also know those cars that are loud. We hear the muffler. We hear the engine rattling. I was at my shop the other day talking to my mechanic, and he said, you need some antifreeze. How did he know? Because my fans were blowing on my car at a higher rate than what he felt like was normal. He said, it is hot outside, but I feel like they're working just a little bit too hard. So I popped the hood. He added some antifreeze, and before long, my fans went, shh. They came on down. I'm the owner driving the car thinking everything's fine. Meanwhile, I'm making a bunch of noise on the road. My car is performing at a lower degree than what's required for it to be functional or optimal, simply because I don't have a tune-up. Now, that's practical. You get it, but that's the whole point of that. How about you, though? How about us as humans? We often need tune-ups and we don't even realize it. So today I want to give you three areas you can tap into and find out, are you in need of a tune-up? The first area I want to talk about is your body. Now, don't get me wrong, being slim and trim doesn't make you healthy. I know that. The question is, how do you walk up the stairs? Do you find yourself with shortness of breath? How are you sleeping at night? Are you able to change postures and move in and out of positions? How are those hips swaying from the left to the right? How about that nagging injury you never addressed? If you're not taking care of your body, overweight and obesity is the easy one. I don't need to talk about that. Step into it. Find yourself a trainer. Learn what eating right actually looks like, not what makes you comfortable. There's a difference. If you're trying to hold on to what you want to have, then you're probably not moving toward the type of tune-up that your body and you deserve, being the human that you are. If you find yourself in shortness of breath, or your hips aren't swaying like they need to, you can't move around and play with the kids, play with the grandkids, or you can't play sports like you used to, you're probably in need of a tune-up. You might want to get in some yoga. It might be something you should make near the top of your list. I know it does what it needs to do to get you to point A to B. But here's the thing. The medical industry continues to make money because we continue to ride around not taking care of our bodies. We continue to not do things to help increase our mobility, our flexibility, our pliability, and we blame it on age. We just think, because the car is old, it's supposed to sound like that. Well, I'm here to tell you, that's just not true. And you're ruining yourself. And here's the other side of it. You're impacting others. Why? Because you're not able to play and be present. Because you know in your heart of hearts that joint isn't functioning like it's supposed to. You know in your heart of hearts that you've got acid reflux, and if you start playing, it might start bothering you. You know in your heart of hearts you don't have enough energy to play now, sleep, and wake up and go to work the next day. That's also an indicator that your body needs a tune-up. You're missing out on life and the possibilities of play. And when you don't take time to play, you become boring. You become absurd. You become intolerable. You become disappointing. You become the lower version of who you actually are, and we don't really want to hang with you. The second thing you might want to check to find out whether or not you need a tune-up is your mind. How's your mind? Not do you find other people who think like you think and therefore you feel good about that. That's a very different conversation. How is your mind? Do you have a fixated mind on a group of people about how they are? Because if you do, that's an indicator that you too need a tune-up. It means you've closed your mind to the circle of you're for and no more, and you're missing the opportunity to expand and learn that there's more to life than just you. There's so much more, but because your mind is fixated and closed, you're missing the opportunity to expand and to grow. As humans, we're designed to evolve. We're supposed to be evolved. We're ever evolving creatures. We are not these fixated ideas with a closed loop. Why else does every generation get smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter? Because that's evolution. We're supposed to. And if you're still living, then so are you. Your closed mind does no good for anybody in your circle. It hinders your family's growth and possibilities. It prevents conversations that people who trust you would like to have with you. But because your mind is about that big in terms of your ideology, it's so 19 whatever it is, those in the 2000s don't have any interest in your time. I know you feel like the things you've learned are valuable, and they are. But are they contributing? Are they expanding? Are they open enough so that a younger person wants to connect with you and see what can happen in that magic for something that much more beautiful? Here's another way to check and see if your mind is expanding or if it's in need of a tune-up. How many books did you read last year? Yeah. I'm not talking about news articles where someone tells you something. I'm not talking about Facebook posts. That's a very different conversation, although there's some very good Facebook posts out there. What are you doing to expand your mind and your range beyond work? There's nothing wrong with expanding for work. In fact, you should do that. I mean, that's common sense. But I know, like for me, let's take me, for example. I don't really get off into nonfiction too often. But because of the creative talent of those who write, it can open my mind and expand it more. So every now and then, I've got to grab one and pick it up. In fact, I was in the airport 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and I saw one. We wrote down the title. I've got to go look it up because I need to buy that book. Why? So I can expand this mind of mine. So I can expand this mind. If you think that your way is right, or you're so fixated that it can't be possibly wrong, then you're in need of a mental tune-up. Because it just means you have limited information being given to you by whoever has given it to you with limited resources, by the amount of resources you found. You found a collective group of people who you respect, who think like you think, and you think you got it all figured out. When the truth is, none of us actually know. And that's why we need one another. The third area to find out whether or not you need a tune-up: how's your soul? How's your will? How are your emotions? How are you feeling? How's it coming with that anxiety? How's it coming with that depression? How's it coming? How's it going? Are you embracing it? It's one thing to embrace it and accept it for what it is. I applaud you for that. But then what are you doing? Right? It's not enough to just embrace. What are you doing? How are you nurturing your spirit, as I like to call it? How are you feeding your soul so that when you wake up every day, you're setting the course for your life? You're setting the course for your goals, not what you've held on to, and that's what it is, what it is. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ever-expanding human that you are. Because if you're still breathing, then that means there's still opportunity for you. That means there's more for you to do. That means there's more growth for you to step into. That means there's more for you to give to the planet. And if you're not nurturing your soul, whatever that looks like for you, that might be meditation, that might be prayer, that might be some sort of religious service, that might be service in the community. But it definitely means taking quiet time to do the inner work. See, most of what I'm talking about, most of what we talk about on the show is about that inner work anyway. And a lot of us don't want to do the inner work because it's uncomfortable. Feel very good. No one wants to be told they're wrong. But here's a secret. The more you're told you're wrong, or the more you discover you're wrong, the better you are as a human. Why? Because it means you thought something and then boop, something opened you up that much more, and you got to expand into that realm too. You thought something and then boop, something opened you up that much more, and you got to expand and realize, man, I don't know it all. I do have my ideology, I do have my frame set, but the reality is it's limited. And when you know that it's limited, you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot when you know it's limited, because that keeps you nurturing your soul. That keeps you going back, spending that quality time, clearing your head of the drama, clearing your head of your political references, clearing your head of your religious references. Yes, I said it, even your religious references, to expand, because you are a gift on this planet. And to be frank with you, when you don't do these three things, you're like a loud car emitting exhaust, annoying everyone, or in the midst of a beautiful orchestra, you're the out of tune instrument that's nagging and driving everyone insane. It takes time to get your tune up. This is the Monday Moment. I'm your coach, Marquise Martin Hayes. Have a fantastic week.